Welcome to the fifth installment of the Icebreaker webinar series. We're here today to talk about youth programming at ICE. My name's Justin Pellin, and I'm one of the coordinators of Imagination since we started in 2021. I'm a settler Canadian from Edmonton, Alberta. I spent most of my life in Treaty 6, but currently reside on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. Real quick intro about me. I got my teacher education degree at the University of Saskatchewan and taught science and history all around the province. And before that, I was a home builder. And we're joined by my colleague at Generation Power, Alex LeMay.
Hey everybody, my name's Alex. So I am in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, traditional territories of Wating, and I come from a paramedicine background and a couple of other positions, including forest firefighting and that kind of stuff. But I am the co-manager at Indigenous Clean Energy for Generation Power. I don't know if we'll get some feedback going on here. Can everybody just mute their mics, please? Thank you. So I've been with ICE for just under 1 year so far. And like Justin mentioned, I'm in the Generation Power, which is the youth programming side of it. Yeah, we'll continue on with the presentation here, try to get this going.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And please feel free to use the chat to share, any comments throughout the webinar. But please keep your webcams off until the question and answer period at the end. We will be recording this. It is being recorded, and that will be available on ICE's YouTube channel. So the Icebreaker series is delivered with support from Alberta Indigenous Clean Energy Initiative, which works with communities to maximize their investments in these projects. And I'll give space to Courtney to introduce herself and a little bit about what she's doing.
Thank you, Justin. As I said, my name's Courtney Hiscock. I'm a business officer with Prairies Economic Development Canada. And as part of this, we work with the Alberta Indigenous Clean Energy Initiative, which focuses on renewable energy generation and energy efficiency projects in Alberta. Our goal is to help First Nations and Métis communities get the most out of their investments in clean energy projects. And a few examples of projects that we worked on in the past include renewable energy generation, energy efficiency improvement, capacity building, and project development support. So if you want to do feasibility studies, for example, if you want to do training, we can include that as well. We're open to discussions at any stage of your project to help identify your community's priorities, explore partnerships, develop capacity, and explore funding and other resources. We also work with a variety of partners, including Indigenous Clean Energy, Indigenous Services Canada, Natural Resources Canada, Alberta Indigenous Relations, and Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, just to name a couple. If you're interested in learning more, we'd like to start a conversation, I'll put my contact information in the chat as well as our website. So thank you, Justin. I'll hand it back over to you.
Thanks, Courtney. So next slide. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. I hope to leave enough time for everybody's questions, or if you just want to talk to our youth guests, Jana and Sarah, who have both been in, well, it gets complicated with youth programs. So Sarah is in Imagination, but has been in GP, and Jana has been in GP. So just jumping into the comparison of programs to get your head around it a little bit more initially. Imagination is a project-based program. So it's building capacity in advancing clean energy projects through kinship, mentorship, and shared clean energy future. And they get project funding to advance their projects. So a little bit about Generation Power. Alex LeMay, I'll let you jump on that real quick.
Yeah, so like Justin said, imagination is more project-based, whereas generation power, we focus on the employment capacity building side of stuff. So it's a program designed for any youth between the ages of 18 and 30, as long as he identifies First Nation, Métis, or Inuit. And we are here to help them either find employment in the clean energy sector, break down barriers they might be facing towards employment, and as well help the employers also. So it's not just for the youth, it's for employers that are willing to hire Indigenous youth to increase their Indigenous leadership within their organizations. So we're here to help them out. So far, we've provided more than 60 internships and training opportunities for Indigenous youth since the program started, which was back in May 2021. And we average about, I want to say, 30 to 50 youth going through Generation Power per fiscal year. So these numbers are also just growing as the program's kind of spreading out there. So I'll get more into the details later on in my slides, but that's just a brief gist of Generation Power.
Thanks, Alex. So meeting the team at Imagination, it all began with Alexandra, who, as a former program manager, was advanced into the director role of youth programs at ICE. And I'm also joined on the team with Ray, and we get things done. I focus more on the project support, project lead support, coordination, and Ray's been really instrumental in, well, we shot a film, so we had no idea what to do, and Ray saved us. And now leaning more towards communications and storytelling, which is a big part of the heart of Imagination. If you could jump to the next slide. Thanks. Yeah, our ecosystem of support includes 45 to 60,000 in project award funding. That range is there because you're guaranteed the 45K, and based on a case-by-case basis, we award funding depending on the scope of the project. We also provide technical project advisory. It's on demand, always available within 24 hours notice. Cedric Papalea is our wonderful project advisor, and we're looking at getting some more as well. We also have technical mentorship, so you have a one-on-one relationship with an expert in the field, and they're paired with you depending on, well, what you want, depending on what your project is all about. We also have a $1,500 Elders Engagement Fund to pay for cultural support. If you're not living in community, you can use that funding to travel to your community to engage with your elders. However you need it to look. We have the wraparound funding as well. If you need a computer, you need childcare, emergencies, just always there available. And we have a $2,500 professional development micro-credential fund. Depending on your project, you might want something specific to the technology. You might want project management certification. Yeah, it's really up to you. And we also have the core of the curriculum of our program is the guided project management templates, which were designed by Alexandra Thompson. And they'll guide you through the very big task of managing a project and getting things done. We also have Energize 101 curriculum modules for deeper knowledge at your own pace of the clean energy landscape and climate. And yeah, there's 10 modules. They take about an hour or two each, but they're voluntary. And we also have networking opportunities. Next slide. So with Imagination, we don't send you all around the country 3 times a year. The money is best spent on projects. So with that, we do recognize how in-person events really do build relationships and confidence and leadership potential. So that last year in 2022, we did send folks, the cohort participants, to the 7 Gen 2022 Indigenous Youth Energy Summit. And it really is an amazing time. We carved out a day called Imagination Day to just introduce ourselves in person for the first time. It was also somewhat COVID time, so it was very poignant. It was very special, and we will be returning to the summit in 2024 in the fall time. The last time was at the Dakota Dunes near Saskatoon. And actually, sorry, if you could roll back to the last slide, I forgot one thing. So you may notice Student Energy and 7Gen Energy. So there are program delivery partners, and Imagination is a collaboration between 7Gen Energy Council and Indigenous Clean Energy, of course, and Student Energy to deliver the capacity development initiative of Imagination. And Imagination builds upon the success of 7Gen Energy. Their Indigenous Youth Energy Summit launched in 2019 in Calgary, and that was facilitated by Student Energy. And so after Indigenous youth spoke at that summit, one of the key takeaways was we need a project-based program. We need help, lifting projects that we see, that the Indigenous youth see, are necessary for their communities. So, Imagination draws upon the mentorship and project development knowledge of ICE, and as well the youth empowerment training expertise of Student Energy and 7Gen to deliver a robust ecosystem of support. So that's a little deeper into our program history. And our program really hinges on active inclusion of Indigenous youth perspectives, both in the program design and through, of course, building the project's experiential leadership initiatives and opportunities. So, we also get a little bit of our governance from the advisory councils of 7Gen, and we're always adapting the program. It's always changing, and we really appreciate how our participants are so flexible with us, and we try to give that same understanding as projects are very unpredictable. We really, we'll say there's a deadline, but we keep it as natural as possible. It can get a little, if there's a deadline bearing over you, it's not like this. Sometimes it's not good for the actual reality of the project. And with that, I'd like to jump into what we do. So the Nimke Youth Collective, their project is just about wrapped up. They installed about 10 kilowatts of solar on their off-grid year-round culture and land camp near Serpent River First Nation. And before that, they were using just diesel generators, very noisy, very expensive, very time-consuming to haul gas around. We also drilled a well and got it set up with a solar-powered pump, and that was done by Ski Environmental Services, who were their technical mentor as well. So their networking opportunity was also the COP15, I believe it was, in Montreal, and that giving Indigenous youth positions to advocate for their knowledge is really we send those letters of support if there's something you want to attend. We really try to facilitate that as much as feasible. Oh, and while you're listening to me or not listening, there's awesome quotes on the side there, and these are pictures of their parts of their project on the right hand side. Bodena, with Healing Our Home out in Moose Cree First Nation, she first began with just wanting to create an architect's handbook for how to engage with Indigenous communities and incorporate culture and traditional knowledge into architectural design. but she ended up going way beyond that. And with the help of um, some grant writing funding, she was able to secure 150 grand towards a feasibility study to get Class B construction documents for an even bigger application to basically rebuild her community's housing. And like amazing. Yeah, I don't want to take all day on the project slides. Brian, he's an electrical engineer who has a novel electrical generator in design that uses the salinity and movement of the ocean to generate electricity kind of passively, no moving parts. And he's currently printing a new prototype that'll improve his design process or testing process and to scale it up and ruggedize it because it's in the wonderful ocean that gets complicated. So he's he's uh he's been to COP. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure with the help of 7Gen and Student Energy, we sent them to COP last year. And yeah, every team has their own stories, and that's part of the storytelling budget that we have, where we give funding for, what a camera or maybe you just want to hire somebody in community who has filming experience and just, follow you along your project journey. And we have Sagin here who built a greenhouse in their community for the high school. And they also installed 11 kilowatt solar power system to do lighting and fans and everything. They also have a wood pellet stove in there, and it's just getting started, just finishing up basically. And they're going to be learning a lot about how that greenhouse works with students and the curriculum that the high school is designing with them. And they both used professional development funding to get into project management micro certificates. They're the first to do that, and because not everyone does it, sometimes we will fund more than 2,500. Like I said, we're pretty adaptable. It's just whatever makes sense. Mitchell is designing a solar powered boat using German electric motor, and he is also a third year mechanical engineering student who was able to get through GP's wage subsidy employment with his project. So he's able to take a day off work paid to work on his project. And it just so happens the employer actually works with Wiki. So he is that's one of the main barriers, is finding the time to do your project. And that's where, that's the beautiful thing about GP and imagination, is they really mesh well together. So yeah, Mitchell is now able, instead of studying for engineering, he's getting paid and working on his project. Oh, and yeah, so Shane is also doing a greenhouse, and his project is really grassroots. It's a solar powered hydroponics building, so not your traditional greenhouse. It's basically going to be closed off for maximum installation value. And he is setting up his own nonprofit for Ziguan Hydroponics. And we are paying the, articles of incorporation fees for that. And yeah, that project is in its earlier phases. We also were able to help him secure a internship position in the parliament. So he's working with MPs and everything, getting that exposure, and it's been really, really, an amazing opportunity. And Shane is very motivated to go to these in-person events and things like that. So it's, your imagination experience is your design. And Jana is also doing a greenhouse, food security Sovereignty is very, very important in the clean energy transition. And she's creating a year-round greenhouse with support from her community, hopefully incorporating hydroponics. And she was also concurrently awarded 125K from the ICE's Project Accelerator program to design or to help support her community with energy efficiency retrofit plans. And that's tying into her master's degree as well. So yeah, really amazing group, and I can't wait for the next cohort to jump in and keep us busy. We will be closing the first cohort in January, and I believe there's the slide. So how is it all done? We have the project management curriculum. So you fill in these phases at each stage of the project, and that gives the imagination staff the information needed to, help us help you. And with the proposal, you're just basically lining out your vision. This is done straight away in the program. You can work with the project advisor and your mentor and myself to strengthen your proposal. This can also be used to convince your community leadership or facilitate community engagement, where that's more deeply planned in the actual phase 2 project plan. And that's just getting a more detailed budget and timeline and laying out all the plans, as well as a deeper look into a risk assessment. The phase 3 is just, halfway through or so of your project to update everybody on where you're at and where you need to go in order to close out the project properly, which is phase 4, to make sure that your stakeholders, everybody involved in the project is happy with the deliverables and it's handed off.
Webinar, I just want to check. I'm going to for 10 minutes, John.
Oh. I'm
Jim,
almost
can
done.
we ask you to mute your mic, please?
Thank you. Yeah, so with the phase 4, that helps you basically wrap up your project with, in a good way, and also with project management principles. So stay tuned. Our next intake will be very soon. And with that, I'd like to pass it off to Alex.
Hey everybody, thanks Justin for that. There's so many wonderful projects, and like you said before, generation power and imagination kind of work very well hand in hand, where a lot of participants either start in generation power and then end up working with imagination, starting their own projects, or vice versa. So quickly before we move on to the next slide, this picture here was actually one of our second cohort where they went to an in-person retreat up in the Yukon. So this is one of the participating groups with all the youth and their mentors and some staff. So currently Generation Power, as they were a pretty small team, there's just myself and my co-manager Kayla. Kayla focuses primarily on the recruitment side and promotional side, whereas I work on the like the programming in general, program development, and then wage subsidy administration, that kind of stuff, to make sure our youth have their barriers broken down so they can easily access the clean energy employers, and our employers get paid wage subsidies for helping hire these young Indigenous leaders into their organizations. And of course, you recognize Alexandra. She is our Director of Youth Programming here at ICE. So she oversees Generation Power and Imagination and helps guide us with the help as well as 7Gen Student Energy. So quickly, Generation Power, we're the employment capacity side of stuff. Like I mentioned before, we're designed, we can help Indigenous youth between the ages of 18 and 30. They must identify as First Nations, Métis, or Inuit. So Generation Power is, easiest way to look at it is like a clean energy career training program. We get some youth apply to the program with employers already where they have jobs. They just want to either change their field, move to a different position within the organization, or change career paths altogether. And then we also have youth that apply to Generation Power that have no employers. They might be right out of high school, not too sure what they want to do in the clean energy field, but they know they want to work to help their community or help just general transitioning over to away from fossil fuels and into wind, solar, hydro, whatever it may be. We actually have access to quite a few employers with the program Generation Power, and we're usually able to put them in contact with somebody from whatever, like I said, area of expertise that they're looking at entering. So we do this. It was actually, the program was actually designed for Indigenous youth by Indigenous youth. So we have a youth working group that consists of past alumni members that were in the program that help advise us, as well as, like Justin mentioned, there's the 7Gen and Student Energy also, which will help advise and give us direction for the program moving forward. So we do this through a holistic, strength-based approach, where we'll position the Indigenous leadership as essential to advancing to a more sustainable and equitable energy future. So we really, really, really try to get the youth and their communities involved at the forefront of engaging and transitioning to the clean energy and get away from, like Justin mentioned, like the diesel generators and stuff of that nature. So to make their communities more self-reliant. So yeah, that's one of the biggest goals with us. And like I mentioned earlier, over 65 internship placements so far since May 2021. Those numbers keep going up as the program continues, and we have about a 90 to 95% full hire rate. So once a youth participates in their placement and they complete it successfully, a lot of the times they end up with a career with that host organization. So it's a really good way to help individuals find careers for life, as well as you might have youth that just come out of universities with bachelor degrees and all the engineering degrees and just don't know how to access the workforce. So Generation Power helps them connect with employers in whichever field of expertise that they studied in. So the biggest objective for the participant is, so we want to enhance their understanding of clean energy, increase their awareness of an equitable and safe workplace in the clean energy field. So I'll cover that a little bit later, but the employers also have a part to play in this, and we offer education for both the youth participant and the employers that are participating in the program. We try to build confidence in our leadership skills. This is a big one. We have, like I mentioned, all sorts of applicants from all sorts of background apply to the program. Some right out of high school, they're not too confident in the workforce or don't know how to maybe even write a proper resume or conduct an interview. So we help them with that. We have different coaches and mentors they have access to, as well as wraparound support if they ever need some type of financial support for things to access new employment. We try to broaden the career opportunities. Again, so I have employers that actually apply to the program without a youth participant already kind of signed up or in mind. So they're just trying to, I guess, broaden their workforce with young Indigenous talent. And a lot of them have a hard time connecting with communities or connecting with individuals. So we help them on that side of it as well too. So we really try to connect, like I said, proper employers with the proper participants to make sure that everybody's got a really good, solid career. And then provide culturally-centered professional development and support network. So through ICE, we have the ICE network, which a lot of networking happens between employers, Indigenous youth, clean energy companies, all sorts of individuals participate in the ICE network, and it's a really good place to start the networking side of things. But sometimes people just don't know where to start, and easiest, like I look at Generation Power kind of like an entry program for Indigenous clean energy, where you can start with us and we can help guide to a direction, or even just provide a good solid base with the Energize 101 course in terms of clean energy concepts, terminology, that kind of stuff, so that the individual can move on to, say, imagination if they have a project in mind for their community. So Generation Power gives them a good solid base to work with, and then they can proceed and kickstart their careers in whichever field that they're looking at doing. So one of the big things with Generation Power is the work placements. So this is basically hands-on in the field. You're hired by an organization in the clean energy sector. We have all sorts of employers, like I mentioned before. Some are in wind, solar, hydro, specific individual programs, such as they had the Alaskan RivGen programs where they were underwater river generators, that kind of stuff. So very unique opportunities for the youth to participate in these. And then once they get, like I said before, once they get hired and they do their work placements throughout, that gives them the hands-on experience to succeed in those fields. And most of them end up being hired full-time by those host organizations afterwards. So we're always accepting applicants for employers. So we have a nice solid base of individuals, different fields, different sectors. Something for everybody is what we try to do. Now, these work placements, the employer will participate in an employer equity training program. We have one currently in development by ICE. We also have access to one from NRCan STIP program for the time being. But once the ICE one becomes fully out there in the world, that will be totally given and delivered by Generation Power to ensure that these employers are safe, inclusion and equity for the youth participants, because we've had in the past some issues where they just either don't see eye to eye, or the youth that don't feel comfortable. So we're trying to eliminate those barriers and make it safe and equitable for everybody. As part of the work placements, these employers will actually receive a 75% coverage of the salary, up to $30,000 for a 4 to 12-month work placement. And like the last point says, we try to match the employers based on the interest, qualification, education, experience, skills, location. And sometimes, like I said, it might be totally different skill that the youth brings to the table. And they're just trying to change careers. Like say they're going from wind, they want to go to solar. I say we can do that. And we've helped out a few individuals do that transition into different sectors. So the employers, when they do participate, we got a couple of objectives for them. The main one, we want to try to develop the capacity for them to lead, contribute to, again, a more equitable and inclusive culture where workplaces. We focus primarily on the Indigenous through an Indigenous lens to make sure that all Indigenous talents and all that are respected, especially on a cultural side of things. We try to get the employers to understand the need for the Indigenous leadership in the clean energy future. So as we transition as a country away from fossil fuels and closer to clean energy, we want to make sure that we're doing it in a very safe environment, as well as the Indigenous needs and community needs at the forefront of this. We try to build the ability to attract and retain Indigenous talents. So again, that falls with that equity training. Once we do the basic training, we will have other branches of that which specializes in like recruitment, retention, how to basically make it a more safe and overall environment for anyone participating in employment, wage subsidies, that kind of stuff. So broader their network, so within the ICE communities. So again, this goes back to the ICE network. We have a lot of individuals that are there, helps expand their network and networking abilities. And then the wage subsidy, so 75%, again, up to 30,000 to support wages. This applies to any company hiring Indigenous youth for clean energy projects. We've had employers from really small companies, startups, all the way to large provincial utility companies. So we do cater to just about everybody. All employers have to apply. We do vet them through Generation Power with our staff to make sure that they are good and well-intentioned employers. And yeah, and then we follow up with our participants throughout those placements. Mentorship and coaching. So this is one that has been utilized quite a bit by our youth. So we have specialized mentors and coaches that are all Indigenous individuals that have succeeded in their fields. And they vary from all different types of clean energy markets, as well as backgrounds. So some started businesses, they're CEOs, others worked in the field. And so they offer a lot of different insights to our youth. They are accessible to them at any time. And so some of the coaches, a lot of the times they'll be utilized just to find a path that the youth can follow. So say someone's right out of high school, they're not too sure how to become a wind technician. We might match them up with one of the wind coaches, and that way they're able to walk them through the steps of what they need to do to succeed in their careers and find jobs and employment in those fields. Big thing again is the Indigenous culture, tradition, and values. So our coaches will instill that also within the youth and make it a safe place for them to share what their goals and intentions are when it comes to any any of their career paths. So again, the coaches provide one-on-one personal development. They can do everything from leadership, conflict, emotional intelligence, communication, even just someone to talk to, bounce stuff off of, ideas, stuff of that nature. We had one of our youth tell us it's just like having an auntie to talk to and just get good advice from, and that's what they're here for. So we're always all looking for new coaches and mentors as well too. So as we come across individuals in different fields and that can offer different areas of expertise, we try to bring them underneath the program in order for them to provide that knowledge and provide that those things to the youth moving forward. So that kind of wraps up just about sums up for Generation Power. The program's not overly complicated. We will have questions and answers afterwards. But right now we're going to go to the section where we're letting our past participants speak upon their experiences. So I'm going to ask Jana, are you on board right now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. So Jenna, if you want to speak about your experience, and then Sarah can go ahead and we'll answer questions afterwards.
Yeah, so Simbigat Sigadam Hana Kabawosa, Amahilu, Jana Whale Wai, Gitsan, Igamax Nii, Lu Amagori Lingasam. So my name is Jana Whale. I'm from Gitamax First Nation on my dad's side, also Cree Métis on my mother's side. And I did Generation Power in the first year that it was running, which was really awesome. I think I had a really good participant experience. When I applied, I wasn't really sure. I'd never heard of this program before. It was fairly new, and I really saw myself as more of a climate person. At the time, I had applied to a master's program in sustainability, and wasn't really sure about kind of how, my work and what I was interested in kind of intersected with clean energy. But I think through the program, it really allowed me to see those interconnections between how clean energy can really contribute to our climate goals. I think it's already been talked about on the webinar, but something that I really found was super helpful was kind of the network building. I participated a couple of years ago, and the people that I was in that cohort with, I see all the time when I'm working. I was on a panel with another GP member last week, which was awesome to see them again and kind of get to interact in that space. And the week before, I was on a panel with another GP member, which was really cool. But also just those friendships. They kind of stick around, and the more people you get to know that are working on the same things and have similar experiences as you, it's really great to get to connect. And I live in BC, so getting to connect with other youth that are across the country and kind of doing different things is always super encouraging to me. I had a great experience. I don't really know what else to say other than that. Now, if you're thinking of applying, I definitely would. I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Bonjour, Sarah Fontaine, Indigenous, Saugeen and Dunji. I'm from Saugeen in Manitoba. I also reside in BC, right? Currently, I go back and forth, and I have for many years. And so, just to touch base on what Janice said, a really big point, my project partner and I wanted to make was about the networking and the opportunities. And I just wanted to list some of them off just to give people here today an idea of what that actually looks like. And so we've had the opportunity to attend the ice gathering in Ottawa last year, which was really amazing. And we also participated in the 7Gen Summit at Dakota Dunes Resort in Saskatchewan, and it was very well organized on ICE's part. We had visited Wanuskewin for a few days, which is a historic Buffalo Jump, where they have land-based and cultural teachings. And there we had gotten together for the first time as participants, and we got to really like share and build those relationships within the organization, because a lot of the time a lot of these things are in a virtual space, and so like having that in person is really important. We also had the opportunity to present at York University in Toronto this year at a regulators conference. We talked about the importance of Indigenous inclusion, how Indigenous knowledge should be at the forefront of the energy transition, as we've carried those knowledges for time immemorial, and how the importance of these grassroots projects. And like when I say that, I mean, you know, like there's always like there's so much happening in the world, and I really strongly believe that supporting smaller scale projects is what's going to bring us ahead. And I just got back from Rome. I had an opportunity also through ICE to attend the United Nations Indigenous Youth Forum at FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And we drafted a document on the protection and preservation of Indigenous food systems, which they hope to be like an UNDRIP type document where governments and corporations adopt and honor these recommendations that we brought forth to the table, which to me is very powerful. We started with a greenhouse. All of a sudden now we're energy coordinators, we're project managers. So many doors have been opened for us because of ICE and our participation. Tegan's going to be attending the Student Energy Summit in Abu Dhabi, which is a once in a lifetime trip, right? And another huge point for me today is the fact that a lot of us growing up, and you know, even in urban areas, a lot of us don't have these opportunities or the capacity to even like participate in this type of travel or these types of positions, right? We don't have the educational background, but ICE and their mentorship have like, they've really lifted us all up to like come into our full potential. And it's just been really great. Tegan and I both have accessed the professional development funds, where we've been taking micro credits towards a project management certificate, because we really want to continue on being project managers for smaller scale initiatives like the greenhouse within our community, and we hope to like have that trickle down to other reserves that are surrounding our reserve. And like I said, there's just been so many countless opportunities. We've been featured in a podcast. The filming that ICE provides for the project was really amazing. We had some videographers and Ray come out to our community on our reserve. We got to go see some small scale farming projects that people are doing in their backyards. It was just very empowering to have non-Indigenous people come to our community and just connect with us on that and just really believe in our vision. And so yeah, like I said, ICE has really changed our life. Like, to say it's life-changing is an understatement. These opportunities have changed our life and really encouraged and supported us to come into our full potential to make our vision for a better tomorrow a reality. And we love you, ICE, and like just this networking and everything that comes from these programs is a very beautiful thing. And I really encourage you guys that are here today to share these opportunities with your communities. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Sarah and Jana. We really appreciate your time here today and speaking about your experiences. I saw in the chat somebody had posted our websites for both Imagination and for Generation Power. You can find, we have our individual sites, but you can also find us through the ICE website, the indigenouscleanenergy.com. And you can also reach out to us directly, Justin and myself, if you have any questions after this webinar. But as for right now, I'm going to open up the questions to the floor if there's any of them. Is there anybody with questions in general? if you don't want to talk in person, you can also write them in the chat. Whole bunch of crickets. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. I'm with an employer, and so I'm just curious how they get involved. I understand there's an application process.
Yep. So you can actually find the application links right on the generationpower.ca site. I can also email them to you as well afterwards if you want. You can reach out to us. So basically, you just go on the site and there's the employer section, and at the bottom there's a form. It takes maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so to fill out. And then we reach out to you afterwards. And also depending on if you're coming already pre-matched or unmatched, there'll be a couple of different questions, right? So if you're coming unmatched as an employer, you'll be asked what the requirements are of the position, what responsibilities, skills, education, qualifications, that kind of stuff, right? And then if you're already coming matched with a youth employed, then we'll basically just ask their contact information and have them apply to the program with the youth application form. Right now, this fiscal year, I believe we have 1 or 2 more seats left for the program, and then we close them off. So basically, April 1st of every year is when the applications open up for Generation Power. And then whichever comes first, either by filling up all the seats or the end of that fiscal year, which is March 31st of the following year, then we basically leave it open. So in the past, we had set application dates or months. The problem with that is we were actually having to not accept everybody. So we're trying to break down more barriers to application because we had some folks either in school or they couldn't meet the right timelines, that kind of stuff. So we're really trying to make it a throughout the year thing as opposed to a select months now. But again, answer your question, our website would be the easiest way to reach us and even just to apply to the program directly.
Thank you.
Justin, did you have anything else to add? I see you popped up there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I see Geraldine is asking if funding is for youth 18 to 30. With Imagination, if you turn 31, it doesn't matter. We will fund your project.
And with Generation Power, as long as you're 30 when you apply, and so
Yeah.
we go by the application date in that same year. Because I have had individuals that were 30 when they applied, and then whatever the next year turns out to be 31. We don't pull the funding or anything on you. They still have access to the mentorship and all the supports in that. To quickly, I don't think I mentioned what the wraparound support, but we usually do about up to $2,000 worth of wraparound support for Generation Power, and I've had youth everything, like Justin said, from childcare, internet access, computers, office equipment, boots for work, whatever it is that's stopping them from me. But being able to participate in employment is what we try to help them with and break down those barriers. I see quickly, Jody, not a question. Is there anything that Iron and Earth can do to support? So we've actually, I know Generation Power has had a meeting about beginning of this year with Iron and Earth just to see how we can help each other out. I don't know what happened at the time. It was a different co-manager. It wasn't myself. So I don't know what happened from there with her, but yeah, we've had a few people mention Iron and Earth and make sure to touch base with them and see how we can collaborate. There's a few partners that we are looking as youth programming to partner up with and open more doors for individuals to participate or to access. I've got quite a bit also from Alberta. So in Generation Power, most of our applicants, we get them from all over Canada. But I want to say the majority of it is from Ontario and Alberta. And so there's a few organizations that have been trying to team up with ICE in general or the youth programming specifically to help make better programs and more accessible and yeah, just more advantages to participants. But I will reach out to you, Jody, because like I said, it was another manager at the time that had this meeting with Iron and Earth, so I don't know where they left off, but I'd love to ignite that relationship because Your name comes up quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to continue the conversation. Would love to chat. Thanks so much.
No, thank you. So there's some of our contact info. If you want to reach out to us, Alexandra's email's on there. Like I said, she's the director for all youth programming. So she would either answer your questions directly or direct you to myself or Justin to go more specifically within our own programs. And then our website, so generationpower.ca, imaginationenergy.com, and then just indigenouscleanenergy.com is our main company site. Any other questions out there? Well, on behalf of myself and Justin, I'd like to really thank everybody for taking the time today and listening to us talk about our programs. We're both very passionate and excited and want to keep these going for years and years and years and help as many people as we can with as many projects or careers in clean energy. So if you know anybody that these programs could benefit or help, whether it's a youth participant or an employer that does a lot of already employment or hiring of young Indigenous leaders, let them know that these programs exist as support and for them to better their organizations or for the youth to better their careers and make networking connections such as what Jana and Sarah were talking about. So. If nobody else say, I'm going to stop the recording now. Again, thanks everybody for joining today, and I guess that'll be the end of it.
Thank you, everyone.